I'm very happy to be welcoming Sophie Gibbon to this session today. Sophie from Rooted Health has just created a course on eating in harmony with the energy of the seasons. I'll let her tell you a little bit more about it. But yeah, her course is now available on the Harmony Principle, and we thought it might be a nice idea just to show you really what that could be about, and how wonderful her teachings tie into what's at the heart of the Harmony Principle, which is how we help ourselves stay well and live in harmony with what's happening in the natural world wherever we are. So I'm going to hand it over to Sophie to share a bit more.
Thank you so much, Claire. Hello everyone. So today, yes, I wanted to talk a little bit about my program, but in doing that in a more fun way, so giving you a bit of a snippet about the type of knowledge you can learn there, and also it's very much practical. So today we're going to be making a spiced lemon pickle, which can be ready in 24 to 48 hours. That's really good for your digestion and is one of the medicinal foods that we'll explore in a lot more detail today. So to start, I really wanted to just take a minute to talk about what medicinal food is. So essentially, in order for us to be able to master our nutrition, we need to remember, first of all, that we are nature. So our bodies are just a reflection of what's going on in the cosmos, what's happening in nature. It's how we've evolved to be as humans. So we've evolved mimicking the ways of nature, you know, these great cosmic forces that govern our realities. Trees and plants know, when to flourish, when to bloom and bear fruit, when again to shed their leaves into the soil, which then remineralizes for the cycle of growth to then restart again. So every part of that process is so important and necessary for the next part to take place. And this is something that's known in simple terms as yin-yang theory, and is something that forms the basis of traditional Chinese medicine and Taoist thought as well. So essentially, we are no different to the trees and the plants. We are intertwined with this natural process. We're a piece of the puzzle. We've evolved eating the fruits of the trees just during that short period that they are out there. We harvest the plants and grains into grains and vegetables for nutrition when the energetic conditions of nature allow. So, but what I'm trying to communicate is this goes so much deeper than just, eating the foods that are available seasonally and in your bioregion, and eating organically, all things that are so undoubtedly important for you to find health, and particularly if you're working on a particular ailment. So these are really important things, but we can go so much further than that when we start to look at what's happening in nature. So it's about deciphering what's happening in the natural cycles and essentially learning the natural code, how we can adapt our diet and our lifestyle according to what's happening outside. And then this is going to make us feel more aligned and balanced in our own health, in our bodies, in our mind, in our emotional health, as well as our spirit, our soul. So we have all of the answers already. So this is, I know this is an educational talk, but it's something that I want to get you to start thinking about what this means to you. We do have the answers already. We come from nature. We're a little bit disconnected. So it's just about remembering and observing and tuning in and taking the time to really witness the subtle changes in energy, in the atmosphere, the environment, and what's happening in nature. So just taking a moment to really tune in. And now with us being in spring, and today's talk is all about the spring element, the wood element anyway. So I would love for you to get to help me by telling me what spring means to you. So Hannah or Claire, what kind of energy would you say that spring has, or what words come to mind when you think of spring?
Expanding.
So how would you describe that? So what kind of things, why does expanding come to mind for you?
The trees are coming out, the plants are coming, the flowers are appearing, so everything's coming to life again and expanding outwards. It's an outwards thing, really. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, and the birds and all the animals are beginning to sort of wake up and start flirting and Yeah.
Absolutely. So it's this awakening, right? After the big slog of winter, all the sedation, the heaviness, the slow, that beautiful, peaceful, calm. It's now movement, like our energy is coming outwards. The world is waking up, the earth is waking up. We're seeing all of the plants, new shoots happening, blossom on the trees, everything's coming upwards and outwards. This movement energy, this where we're changing from that yin into the yang. So it's a change of energy there. So Claire, what about you?
Green is something I'd say. It's been really noticeable this year because we had such a long, wet winter, but green, everything's so green right now.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it's just about taking a moment, isn't it, to really think. So green, amazing. That is the color of spring. And we'll essentially, this is what we're starting to build. We're looking at the guidelines of TCM's 5-element theory. So, but without trying to think too much academically, but just in a, perceptive way, what you can take in from your surroundings. So upwards, outwards, new life, movement, the color green. What about what's happening? So how do you feel in your own bodies? So we're kind of seeing what's out there, but how do you personally feel in spring? And if that's difficult to think about, perhaps comparing how you felt in winter and how that changes.
It's new plans and starting projects and feeling more alive and being in the light more. So, and being outside.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So a bit more energy, a bit more, thought, planning, strategizing. Awesome.
Yeah, definitely busier. And I think it's quite a productive time of year. There's a lot. You come out of winter and you're like, right, okay, well, I need to sort my garden out, and I need to change my winter wardrobe, and I need to clean the windows, and there's like it's quite a productive time of year.
Yeah, it's this like get up and go, isn't it? Like, oh, finally I can move again, and things are perhaps a little lighter. In winter it's very much a heavy energy, isn't it? It's slow, and we're eating all those really lovely like casseroles and really heavy dishes and roast meats and all of these wonderful things. But over a while that can create that stagnation, which can result in dampness, phlegm as well. We're having constant attacks from external pathogens of cold, of wind, of flu, of all those type of things. So spring is a time to shift that and cleanse as well. So it's getting rid of that stagnation. It's moving things out of the body. So yes, it's more movement outside, but also inwards as well. We're trying to shift that heaviness that has accumulated over the last several months. So it's also then a time for cleansing and detox. And also through that, then we're supporting our liver and our gallbladder, which again are the organs that are most prominent during the wood element. So it's a time for cleansing and detox, for getting up and go, waking up. It's the morning time of the seasonal year, of the seasonal calendar. So if we had to give spring a flavor, what would come to mind? And I guess it's a little more tricky, but if you think about, it could be any flavor in theory, couldn't it? But if you think about, again, that get up and go, that spark, that's something that perks you up. If out of the 5 flavors, we have salty, we have spicy, pungent, we've got sweet, bitter, and sour. So
I know it's sour, but it doesn't mean anything really.
No. The sour for me, if you bite into a lemon, it kind of wakes you up, doesn't it? It gives you that, it shakes something out of you, it sparks your energy and in your mind as well. So it's again just drawing back to that awakening, that newness, that freshness of spring. So that's why the sour flavor is associated with spring as well. So then just in those quick questions we've heard about the energy, so upward and outwards, the activity is about starting to incorporate more movement. It's about cleansing and detoxing, getting rid of the old, creating space for new life to grow and flourish. Where it's all about green, it's all about sour things as well. And that essentially is just described, obviously, the 5-element theory, the qualities that TCM have developed over thousands of years. So then when we look at TCM dietary therapy, we apply those same qualities, but then to food, nutrition, and eating habits as well. So there's a element of just tuning in and allowing what to happen, to, you know, to go with the Wu Wei. You know, we do naturally start to lighten up our diets in spring, whereas in winter we crave those really heavy, those warm, those, you know, really nourishing kind of dishes, where in spring we're like, you know, we want to get up and out a bit more. We've naturally got a bit more energy, so therefore we don't need to have these really heavy foods that are then going to be releasing our energy over a you know, slowly to keep us going for longer. We're not going into that hibernation, we're coming out of it. So there is an element of our body is going to be doing this naturally, but then there's a way that we can kind of tune into some more specific things that we can then tailor into a more medicinal diet for spring. So we'll revisit again what we've said. So this get up and go, morning time awakening, upward and outwards, renewal, new birth, new life, shoots and blossoms on the trees, green color, sour flavor. So if we now apply this to food, looking at those kind of 5 medicinal foods. So firstly, a really good food for this time of year is lemon. So lemon, hence why we're going to be making a pickle afterwards. But why lemon is so amazing for springtime and the wood element, obviously it's very sour. You know, that's quite an obvious trait that lemons are incredibly sour. They do have that natural, they wake you up, they you know, they're very tart, aren't they? They kind of give you that little burst of energy. So the sour flavor has that awakening effect on our body as well as the mind. It also awakens our digestive system. So it starts to get the digestive juices and secretions flowing. So from the salivary amylase in our mouth to our digestive enzymes as well. So it helps our overall digestive process as well. And now our digestive fire is beginning to warm up because we're moving into the more yang cycle as well. So it aligns with that, it sparks that process and cleanses the stomach as well. It's got a very cleansing action. So again, when we're talking about trying to remove the waste, the heaviness, the dampness, the phlegm that we've accumulated in winter, lemon is a great way to cleanse the digestive tract. So to give your immune system a bit of a boost as well, but physically to remove those toxins out of the body, as well as supporting, the kind of digestive secretions as well. And it also supports the gallbladder very specifically in smoothing and breaking down fats in the body, as well as the peel. So we use the whole of the lemon, not just the lemon juice, but eating the peel has a load of beneficial effects for the body. And it's specifically used in a medicinal context to drain dampness out of the body. So they're going to have different effects. The flesh and the juice is very cleansing. The peel kind of cuts through the phlegm, cuts through the dampness, and helps to excrete and drain that out of the body. It boosts our digestive fire, our metabolic fire as well. And we should be having it in everything that we can. So in the morning, again, because it's a particularly spring food, and spring is the morning time of the calendar year, then having that first thing in the morning can be a great way to cleanse the digestive tract, prepare your digestion for breakfast and for, getting up and going for the rest of the day. So just having a hot water with some lemon, just, slice it up and have that first thing in the morning is going to be a great, very simple medicinal drink. But also zesting it and putting it on your porridges. Again, it helps to lighten up what you're eating, to freshen it up, as well as cutting through the dampness. So for things like oats, if you eat in excess, they're very nourishing for you, but they can have a slightly damp forming effect. So if you're adding some lemon zest, then that can help counteract those effects as well. And then of course the lemon pickles. So if you have, we'll be making this in a minute, but if you have just one of these in the fridge, you can have just one little bit a day, either with your meal or before your meal, and it can help again prepare your digestion. So it's going to be more effective at processing what you're eating. So lemons are without doubt probably the top for me. And then we have apples. So again, with the reasons that we've spoken about the qualities of the energies, what's going on in spring. So apples are obviously sour as well. So they've got that affinity with the liver and gallbladder, which are dominant during this time. They support, particularly with the gallbladder as well, with softening gallstones, as well as excreting them, collecting them in the body and then excreting them. So that can be a great thing to be working on now if you're doing a liver cleanse or a gallbladder flush, a gallbladder cleanse. Then making sure you're eating loads of apples can be very supportive for that process. Apples also help us tonify the chi in TCM. So again, after the winter slog and your energy is low, and you know, it's just about kind of bringing that energy up, really tonifying and working on strengthening your internal chi. Helps us to eliminate toxins from the body. So it really supports that natural cleansing and detoxifying abilities, as well as shifting a bit of weight. So apples are great for weight loss as well. So again, just getting rid of the winter layers, shedding, creating new space, getting rid of the old, creating space for the new. And they also support against seasonal allergies as well. So with their effect on our immune system, they help protect against hay fever and the seasonal allergies as well. So apples are fantastic for so many reasons. Also, you know, they have pectin and all sorts wonderful fibers, which are prebiotics, so they nourish our beneficial bacteria as well. So a great digestive food as well.
Do they need to, is the more sour apple better than a sweeter apple? Or does it matter?
Sour apple would be the most nourishing for the liver and gallbladder. Sweeter apples are still going to be very beneficial for you. And again, if people, you can change them. Apples are going to be good for you pretty much all time of year, but you need to change their properties. So if in winter, because apples are slightly cooling, they're gently cooling, but they are slightly cooling, you can then stew them and add a bit of cinnamon or a bit of ginger to make them a bit more tolerable for the colder months. But sour apples would be amazing for spring. If not, apples are still going to be very good. But kind of Granny Smiths, those really green apples, again, it's then incorporating the color green as well as the flavor, which are a bit more tart than the red varieties, but they're still going to have a benefit to you. So number 3 are sprouts. So obviously spring is a time where life is sprouting. You know, we've got the new shoots coming up, the plants, everything's sprouting, everything's new. So again, thinking about what's going on outside and then applying that to a dietary perspective. So eating as many sprouts as you can. So alfalfa sprouts, mung bean sprouts, again, which are green, barley sprouts, wheat sprouts as well. For a lot of people who don't eat wheat, eating a sprouted wheat bread can often, a lot of people don't tend to have problems with that, because sprouting makes, again, the food more digestible, more bioavailable. So the properties that are in there are then more absorbable by our body. So sprouts, having them on anything, you can put them on your soups, on your salads, in your porridges or savoury porridges, your congees, are a fantastic thing to do. And it's a really fun process. It's a really easy thing to do. Maybe next time we can do sprouts. And yeah, it just takes a few days, probably 5 days. All you need to do is essentially rinse them very well. You can get a little jam jar which has a lid with some kind of a mesh lid on top. And essentially all you need to do is rinse it and tip it on its side so it can slowly release the water. And within 5 days, it will begin to sprout. You'll just need to rinse them on a daily basis. But so they're very easy to do. For some reason, they're fallen out of our diet, but they're so nutritious, and they're great for spring. So they're part of the spring medicine top 5s. Green foods, obviously you've already told me that green is the color that you think of when you think of spring. So absolutely incorporating as much green into our diet as possible, and particularly incorporating the energy, that upward and outward energy, thinking of green plants that do that. So celery may come to mind. It shoots up and outwards. So that is going to be a fantastic food for now, and aligning with the energetic directions of spring. You know, courgettes, asparagus, cucumber, green peas, green beans, all of those beautiful green plants, as well as the dark leafy greens. So dark leafy greens support the liver blood as well. So spring is a time of cleansing, so we're renewing our blood as well as tonifying our chi, our energy. So dark leafy greens is a fantastic way to support the liver blood, and also their shape and their properties. So a lot of them have insoluble fibers, so they're slightly more difficult to digest, but they essentially act as a brush. They sweep our intestines out, so they're getting rid of loads of toxins or undigested food particles that may have got a little stuck over the winter hibernation. And again, it's just supporting that overall cleansing function. So it's great for the digestive tract as well as the liver. So mustard greens, kale, dandelion greens, Chinese cabbage are all fantastic for this time of year. And then my fifth top 5 medicinal food for spring are pickles and fermented foods. So pickles, we're going to make one in a minute. But obviously, again, we're incorporating that sour flavor. So it's got that wonderful awakening effect on our digestive tract, supports the health of our liver and our gallbladder and our eyes. Also, obviously, they are fermented, they're pickled. So they're going to have that nourishing effect on our beneficial bacteria, our probiotics. So they're going to be great for your digestion, preparing your digestive tract for the summer months as well. And essentially they're already pre-digested, so they're really good for they're easy for us to digest, and they then have the double effect that they are beneficial for promoting a better balance of bacteria in your gut. So pickled and fermented foods, again, you need, hopefully to be having one a day. A pickle a day keeps the doctor away, as I've learned. So having just a forkful or spoonful of fermented foods with your lunch or main at least once a day is advisable. Again, if you're having the pickle, it can go with so many different things, with salads, with soups, in sandwiches, on the side, on its own. You can have it again before your meal or after your meal as a digestive. So it can either help to prepare your digestion or help to process what you've eaten. But obviously this is a really quick one that we're going to make in probably 5 minutes. But obviously there are lots of other varieties. Sauerkraut would be amazing for now as well, because of Chinese cabbage, it having that dark leafy green and that kind of intestinal sweep effect, as well as then benefiting through the sour flavor and the kind of the fermentation as well on your gut bacteria. So pickles and ferments are the last one, and there's loads. That's drinks as well. There's things like obviously kombucha, kefir, beet kvass. There's so many different types of wonderful ferments now. It's just getting creative. Kimchi, a personal favorite. But yeah, so they're my top 5 medicinal foods for spring, but incorporating the concepts that you already know about. So it's just about remembering what is available, what you already know. It's just about tuning in to what you already see around you, and it's just saying, actually looking with more of a inquiry in your when you're looking around, actually what's happening, not just looking at things because they are the way they are, but actually inquiring how they were before, how they've changed, what's going on in that process, and what you can then take from that to apply to your own diet and your own eating habits as well. So obviously we've looked at our top 5 medicinal foods for spring. We can also then apply this to cooking styles as well. So if we're thinking a bit again about that direction that's going upwards and outwards, are there any cooking styles that would come to mind for you?
Stir frying, I suppose, maybe.
Stir frying, steaming. So think about the steam rising up and out. So steaming your green veggies, steaming all of these foods, so they're not so they're cooked to a point where they're easier to digest, but not kind of mush. You still want them to retain their structure, again, because of their fiber content. And if you kind of decimate your foods, then they're going to release a lot of the nutrients that they have. And if you are steaming as well, and you're eating organic veggies, then the water afterwards you can drink, and that's a really good tonic as well, because the water has already had all of the nutrients structured into it. So it's a great tonic to be able to get all of the nutrients as well, and then you're eating the fiber and getting it both by digesting and by drinking. So stir frying as well is a good one. Steaming's kind of the cooking style for spring. But if you're thinking about being able to have less heavy foods, lighter foods, you can even tolerate a little bit more raw foods because we're building that digestive fire. But just being cautious not to deplete it too much, because that will, raw foods are very cold in nature. So you only really want to be having a little bit when it's sunny, but you can tolerate it a little bit more in springtime as well.
That's great. Really, really just small tweaks that can just make a massive difference to.
Yeah. And a lot of it we're doing naturally. You know, you naturally want to change up from your hearty porridge to having something a little lighter in the morning, or you crave a bit more soups or a bit more color, you know, in your meals. A lot of the time we're drawn to it naturally because this is what we innately know. It's how we've evolved. We just forget, and because now everything is so available all year round, that we can tend to disconnect from that. So it's just really tuning in again and remembering. So just a few little tips with some medicinal foods. None are wild, none are, they're all things that we have regularly, or can be having regularly. They are very available to us, and it's a fun process, making a quick pickle, making some sprouts. It's just connecting with your food, it's connecting with nature, and that whole process of imparting your love and your care and checking. And it's a mindful activity. It's great for your mind, for your stress levels, but it's also imparting all of that into what you're about to eat. So when you have that final product, it tastes so much nicer.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you for sharing that. That's great.
Pleasure. So do you have any questions on that before we go into the lemon pickle?
I guess my only question would be, what about if you have a real aversion to any of this, to this sort of sour taste? What would that tell you?
So that's quite an interesting question. So if you can start to kind of really think about what you like and what you don't like, and you can start to make lists and actually see, are there any connections? Is it all the alliums? Is it all these things? Is it all spicy foods? Is it all sour foods? If it's these huge categories, then that could be your body's way of telling you that's what you need. That's what you're either lacking in, or that can be the other way around. You can already have an excess of that. But it can, mostly for me, if you really don't like sweet food, you really don't like sour food, that's probably a sign that you want to be looking to support your liver and your gallbladder. So you can start to use it as a diagnostic tool, as part of obviously a more holistic consultation. Talking about likes and dislikes is something that I talk about with clients, or if they have an aversion to the cold or something, all of these things can be a way to describe and are a way of your body to express what it's either lacking in or needs more of. So yeah, interesting question. Thank you. Did you have any questions, Hannah?
No, I don't think so. I think it's a good explanation of sour. It's great. Yeah, I'm not very good at fermented foods. They seem to upset my stomach, but yeah.
Do they? Little often. Yeah, maybe. Yeah. The thing is we buy kombuchas in big bottles now, and people think that's the amount that you're meant to be drinking. It's not at all. We're meant to be having like a shot a day, or like a forkful if you're eating it in food. And maybe trying to make it yourself and making it organic, and something simple like starting with a 24-hour pickle is probably going to be the best way for you to start to help your stomach adapt to it, before going in for a full-blown kimchi that's been fermented for 2 weeks, got loads of spices in it. So try something kind of subtle first, and just a little bit, just 1/8 of that lemon or a couple of bites, and then your stomach will reestablish its bacteria. And it may just be that it's not used to it yet, and when you do have that digestive distress afterwards, like if it's obviously clearing or the other way, then again, that can just be a sign that things are changing. And if you persevere with that over a few weeks, then you might notice that it will have a very positive effect. So it's just if you can kind of stick with the not so pleasant symptoms initially. So yeah, the pickle that we're going to make today is very good, like we've mentioned, for lots of things, for your liver, your gallbladder. It's very easy to make, so it's one you absolutely can make within a day. You can change it depending on what you are, your personal likes and dislikes as well. There's lots and lots of simple things that you can kind of adapt. So all you're going to need is a lemon. You're going to need a little tub like this, so one with a lid. You're going to have to make sure that you have washed it out with hot water before and let it dry naturally to sterilize the jar. You want to be careful that when you are making any kind of ferment that you've washed your hands with soap before, so again, you're not imparting the bacteria onto your food. So you want to have clean food, clean hands, clean surfaces, clean equipment. So just one mason jar. Here's one I made earlier. Obviously a lemon, knife, and your spices of choice. So you aren't going to need many of them, and a lot of them you've got in the kitchen anyway, so it should be really simple to make. I've got cumin, ground cumin, I've got ground turmeric, as well as the fresh turmeric, just because I had some left. So you can use whichever, the fresh or the ground. Obviously, if you're using fresh, then it's going to have a slightly more pungent effect. And then I've got some smoked paprika as well. It tends to go really nicely with these slightly kind of Indian flavors. And then I've just got some roasted pepper with garlic in there as well. And then obviously, if you're using obviously vegetables, fruits for pickling or fermenting, then again, using organic is obviously going to be a lot better for you because they're not having the pesticides and things on, which would then go into the pickle. So always using organic where you can is advisable. So we're going to start and I'll show you towards the end what it kind of looks like once it's been out on the side for a day. But to start with your lemon, you're just going to need to take a knife. And essentially what we're going to do is cut it into eighths. Now you can leave the all of the skin on. I personally like to just shave the corners just to make it a little bit easier to digest and a little bit quicker to pickle. But if you like the bitter flavor, you can leave all of the skin on. I'm just going to shave just slightly on each of the kind of corners of the lemon. Just do it with these three. Just to make it a little bit less thick on the skin. You can leave those aside. You can put them in your porridge. You can do lots of nice things with lemon peel. As we know, they're great for draining dampness, for weight loss, for phlegm, anything like that. So cutting your lemon into eighths. So just half down the middle. And again, half down the middle, and again. So you're just quartering each of the halves. And then you're just going to place those at the bottom of your jar. Now, once they're in the jar, you're just going to use either the back of a spoon or the back of a fork just to press them, just to release some of the juices. Some of the juices are going to help to submerge the lemons. Just taking a moment to mash those a little bit. To release the juices and just soften the structure. There you go. So you'll have some juices in the bottom there. You want to keep those, as that's going to help, again, just to keep the lemon under, kind of submerged under water. So it's not going to go bad, as well as then the salt's going to help that as well. So once you've got the lemons at the bottom and you've squished them to release some of the juices and just to soften the shape a little bit, you're then going to add your spices. So I prefer to put them in a bowl and mix them together first. So if you're using your powdered, then it's a 1/4 teaspoon of turmeric. Turmeric is quite a strong flavor, so you don't need loads there. So just around 1/4 of turmeric. And I got stuck. There we go, 1/4 teaspoon of turmeric, 1/4 teaspoon of cumin powder. A 1/4 teaspoon of paprika, either smoked or unsmoked. Again, if you like a spicier pickle, you can add a little bit more. And then this is where you can get a bit more creative. So obviously, if you are using fresh, this is where you would add them in as well. So I'll just add a little bit of fresh turmeric here. So an easy way to peel any of these root vegetables, so ginger or turmeric, then you just use the side of a teaspoon. So it helps to take off the skin without actually damaging much of the shape of the vegetable. There we go. And careful to not spill it, as turmeric does stain. So the fresh vegetables, if you're using them, then they can go. If you're adding extra fresh ginger or fresh turmeric, then you can just put them directly into the jar. And I'm going to give the pickle a really nice color as well. And then just a bit of black pepper or any other flavors that you're adding. You can add in some garlic powder, onion powder, asafoetida, as it's called in Ayurvedic medicine. And then you're just going to mix them all around. So you've got your powdered mix. And you're going to sprinkle them on top. So you're trying to sprinkle them as evenly as possible. To cover all the lemons. And then you're going to add your teaspoon of salt, which I have left in the kitchen. So I'm just going to run and get that. So you can use there's lots of different types of salts. I'm using a birch smoked salt as it gives a really nice flavor. It's one I bought from Iceland. But any kind of sea salt, Himalayan salt, lava salt, a hearty teaspoon, and again to sprinkle it all over the lemons. A bit more. And then you just want to maybe squish your lemons a little bit more just to make sure it's all nice and covered. And the last thing you're doing is adding your olive oil, your flavorless oil. You can use coconut oil, and just a teaspoon. Again, mixing it on top of the lemons just to make sure that they're all nice and covered. So with the juices and the oil, your lemons should be nice and submerged. So just want to make sure that you're pressing them down if they need to be squished a little bit more. And the salt there is going to help pickle them. So then, once you've got your lemon pickle, your spiced lemon pickle, then you're just going to close the lid and leave it out on the side for 24 to 48 hours. And then you'll notice the colour starts to go a little bit darker. Here's one I made earlier, and it's really delicious. So very easy to make, takes just 5 minutes. And once it's ready, so in 24 hours, give it a taste. If you think it needs a bit longer, maybe an extra day, but it is a quick pickle, so should be ready relatively soon. Then you just put it straight into the fridge. And you can use that with your salads, with your soups. You can add it in sandwiches, have it on the side, or as a digestive after your meal, or as on its own, to get your digestive juices flowing, so your digestion is ready to receive your food. So that's how you make one very quick, easy, medicinal tonic. Spiced lemon pickle.
I love it. I love anything quick and easy.
Very quick, very easy, very good for you, lasts for a while. So yeah, it's a winner.
Yeah, absolutely. And it seems very impressive, I'm sure, to anyone. You're like, yeah, I just whip this up. I'm looking forward to trying it.
Yeah.
You just eat the lumps of lemon then?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can put them, you can have it. It's great if you're making like a curry or something like that as well. It has got that slight aromatic flavor to it. You can eat it on its own, obviously, if you like the sour flavor. If you don't, obviously, then maybe disguising it in your curry or something like that. Or you can have it with anything. Goes nicely with soups. It adds a whole lot of flavor because the flavor is all absorbed by the lemon. So very simple to make, very good for your tummy and your liver and gallbladder. So an easy spring medicinal food.
Oh, I love it. The idea of it being like a little soup flavor bomb.
Yeah, no, it's great. I love it. I love the sour flavor. I can't get enough of it. But I put this on loads of different things. Even your porridges, if you want a slightly more savory one, can be interesting. Grains, all sorts.
Lovely. Well, thank you so much for sharing that, Sophie.
Pleasure. Let me know. I hope you like it.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to trying it. I like to add these things to the side of dishes. I can imagine that being nice with a dal or something as well.
Yes, so nice. Yeah, really nice. We have it with loads of things. But yeah, delicious.
Well, thank you so much. And it's reminded me to eat more apples also.
Yes, get your apples in, get your lemons in.
Apple a day, that's what they say, don't they?
Absolutely. Apple a day and a pickle a day. If you have those two, you're doing really well. So.
Yeah, we have a lemon and ginger in the morning.
Oh, great. Amazing. Yeah, that's brilliant.
Well, wonderful. Thank you so much, Sophie. And as we said when we started, Sophie's mini course is absolutely packed with really practical ways to support your digestive health and your nutritional health throughout the calendar year and the seasonal year. And I think it's a really lovely way to observe the changes that are happening outside and to honor the changes that are happening internally, even if we're not always aware of them. There's an awful lot we see in clinic as practitioners that comes up simply because people don't necessarily adapt or get into very lazy habits, don't we, with food? And we need as we know, we need a diverse, varied diet. But it's also a little bit more complicated than that, and if we can think about what we're putting in and how we're preparing the food we're eating, it can make a massive difference to our health. So I really appreciate your sharing that today.
Pleasure. And like I say, so this is a bit of a snippet about what you'd learn in the course in terms of the content. Obviously, we've only looked at one element very quickly today, but we look at all of the elements as well as the gut, the digestive system, and there's lots of other kind of wonderful stuff in there. Which I can show briefly, I think, if I can get that up on my screen. And there's also a recipe book with over 60 kind of nourishing, healing recipes for the seasons in there as well to get you started on your journey. So let me just see if I can. I had it up ready. Yes. Okay. Share. So this is what the program looks like. It's called Eating with the Elements. And it's all about the 5 elements, but it also, like I said, goes into depth about, okay, what is intuitive eating? How do we access this innate knowledge about what is good for us, what isn't, what we should be doing, how we should be preparing our foods? I kind of touched upon today how a lot of this is known to us already. We've just kind of lost that connection. So an introduction to food energetics, so more specifically looking at things like the direction of certain foods, and starting to learn how foods make you feel. How can you tune into learning about that energetic qualities of the food that you're eating? Where does it grow? What can you tell about that food? What does it look like? What does it resemble? So that's essentially food energetics, the actions that food have on the body. So we look at that, the doctrine of signatures, and then the different categories of food energetics, as well as looking at the 5 elements. So what foods are particularly nourishing for those seasons, for the elements, and why. And then the importance of gut health, as no kind of nutrition program can be separated from the gut. So it's connecting the gut from a holistic perspective, an Eastern perspective, and a Western. And then we look at some diet and lifestyle tips for a healthy gut, mind, and body. So again, tackling from a more holistic perspective, as well as some exercises, like really simple exercises you can include into your day. And then there's some guides and things that you can use to start to track your own health, your own diet, what you're eating, and whether you are eating the right foods for you, or what kind of things that you can kind of tell about your diet so far. And then that comes with the recipe book as well. So these are all videos. There's the kind of the written textbook that kind of accompanies it. And then there is the recipe guide as well. So you've got loads of nourishing recipes there for wood elements, so they're great for this time of year. Really simple to make and very healing, kind of medicinal foods: fire, earth, metal, and water. So lots of nice, yummy recipes for you to make as well.
Incredible. And it looks like an awful lot of content, but just to say that you've structured it so it's easy to digest.
Yes, exactly. Everything should be easy to digest, even the program. So they're kind of bite-sized videos, you know, just a couple of minutes, 5 minutes long max. And yeah, it's about an hour of content overall in these short bite-sized videos. So yeah, it should be easy to take on board and simple things to introduce into your diet.
Wonderful. Well, I'm inspired, definitely. I'm really looking forward to my people. Thank you so much.
Oh, pleasure. Thanks for having me. That was really fun.
I'm gonna stop the recording.